time I was a little girl, I've always loved to draw. Pick up a pencil, I'd draw on anything, any piece of paper I could find. I remember at school I'd open up my maths book or my French book and to the centre page, and there would be a clean white page that would just say, draw on me. So I just would draw and draw. I just loved art. I loved looking at the world around me and studying it all. And I think when you do that, you tend to ask a lot of questions because you're really thinking all the time as you're looking at the world around you. I grew up in a large family. I had 5 brothers and sisters, and we had an amazing home. My mum and dad were really devoted to each other, really loved each other. When I look back on my childhood, there was nothing really that should have made me the depressed teenager that I became. I often wonder why. Why was there always that emptiness inside of me, that wanting to know, why was I here? What was I living for? What was it all about? I didn't just have a happy family. I did well at school, had lots of friends, I was class counsellor. School was great as well. As you get older and you're searching for something, you tend to turn towards looking for it in a social life. You go out drinking and partying, and I'd come home and wake up the next morning with that big empty feeling inside of me. My father was a builder on the North Shore, and he built us a beautiful family home. I remember one day standing on the deck and for no reason at all, just bursting into tears, and my mother holding me and saying, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Just tell me what's wrong and I can help you." And my reply to her was, I don't know what's wrong. I used to just walk the streets, just asking questions. Why am I here? What is life all about? When I finished high school, I went to art school and did a fine arts degree. One of my lecturers was Colin McCann. Some of you may know him or know of him, probably one of New Zealand's most well-known painters. And I really enjoyed having him as my tutor. We had lots of discussions. He was also a person, if you look at his paintings, who searched for God. Well, I have a reference from Colin that says that I was a person who was always asking questions and always seeking out answers. I wasn't just willing to listen to what someone told me, but I had to find out for myself. My sister and her husband invited me to go with them on a holiday to Great Barrier Island, but it was very lonely and isolated, and the very beauty of the place made my loneliness and my emptiness more pronounced and my depression more intense. One of my other brothers was staying on the opposite side of the island with a group of young people in a boarding house. When I went there, I met 2 people who said they were Christians. These 2 people didn't argue with me, but I saw in their lives something really wonderful. I saw a peace that I didn't have, and I could see that they were really happy, and I really wanted what they had. And through them, I was introduced to Jesus Christ. I didn't know if that could be real. And once again, then came all my questions. Is Jesus really who he claimed to be? Was he really the Son of God? During my next holidays, I was working in a factory. As I was working in this little jewellery place, putting bracelets together, I looked out the window and there was a fence running alongside the factory. And I didn't hear an audible voice, but it was very real. And this voice said, "You're just sitting on the fence. You're not following Jesus. You're not trusting God. But you're not happy out there just living a life without God. It's just as though you're sitting on a fence and you need to make a decision. Which way will you go?" It was as though God said to me, "Taste and see what I have to offer." And I did. and I found out it was everything that God had promised. My grandfather had given me a really lovely little Bible, and in the front of it he'd written, "Happy is that people whose God is the Lord." And so I took that step, and it's like stepping from darkness into light. Jesus said, "I'm the light of the world. He who follows me will no longer stumble in the dark." And that's what it was like. I'd been stumbling around in the dark, looking for meaning, looking for peace, looking for joy. And that's when I found that living light just flooded my pathway. The Bible says that when we ask Him to forgive us, He's faithful and just, and He will forgive us. And that was the step towards this new life that God has given me. One of the most fantastic things was finding that God had given me a guidebook. He'd given me a roadmap, and that was the Bible. I read verses like, if any person becomes a Christian, they become a brand new person inside, and that happened to me. I was a brand new person. And when you become a Christian, when you choose to follow Jesus, it doesn't mean that life's going to just be all sweet and nothing bad's going to happen to you. Through my life, I've faced some really tough times. I would say it's been in the darkest times of my life that God has been the most real to me. When I've faced really dreadful things, I've had such a peace. There was the morning when the surgeon came into my room. I'd had a biopsy and pulled the curtain. I knew what was coming, and he told me that it was cancer, and he'd made a mistake a year earlier, and I'd been left for a whole year. By then it had travelled to my lymph nodes, and I had to have major surgery. And yet God gave me such a peace through all that I could never have made it up or manufactured it myself. He was just there with me. But I was really terribly sick through chemo. So sick that sometimes as I was being driven back to the hospital for my next month's treatment, I'd have a container and I'd just be heaving up into that container. It was really hard, but God gave me a peace and saw me through it. A song that I really love says, "I've had many tears and sorrows. I've had questions for tomorrow. There've been times I didn't know right from wrong, but in every situation, God gives blessed consolation that my trials come to only make me strong, and through it all, I've learnt to trust in Jesus. I've learnt to trust in God. Through it all, I've learnt to depend upon His word." To redeem means to set free or to rescue or to pay a great price to buy something back. And that's what God did for me. And the price was the death of His Son, Jesus. And He bought me back, and He rescued me, and He set me free from fear, set me free from depression, and He gave me a brand new life. And I have nothing in myself to offer anybody. I have only Jesus, and I offer you Jesus, my Redeemer.